All right. It is 12:34, and it is time for Heart Talk. You are tuned into Heart Connections with your heart coach, Adelai Brown, on your community station with international inspiration, kinetichifi.com. It's Make It Happen Monday, and we are making it happen because we are figuring out who we are so that we can make it happen. We've talked about who we are and the importance of that, and how many of us have been struggling with making it happen in our life. We're not seeing our dreams come to fruition, and our prayers being answered, because many of us are in an identity crisis. We don't know who we are. We are struggling with the facts of who we are. For some people, it's a physical thing. For many of us, it's an emotional and spiritual identity crisis. You know your name, you know your gender, you know where you're physically located, but you're not quite clear on where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. That's what we're going to be talking about this hour. This segment of Heart Talk is brought to you by my new book, Help Save Me from My Broken Heart, Your Journey to Living and Loving Again. And you can pre-order your copy at theheartconnections.com. I told you when we were discussing, and if you want to check me out live, come on and follow me on YouTube. You can catch me at bit.ly/heart connections, bit.ly/heart connections. You can catch me live streaming on YouTube, and you can also catch the replay to Heart Talk on YouTube as well. We're talking about where we are and in respect to who we are, because if we're going to make it happen, if we're going to see anything shift or shape in our lives to get to where it needs to be, to do what needs to be done, we need to be clear about where we are. And when I say where we are, I'm not talking about a physical location. I'm talking about more of a mental, emotional, spiritual location. Where are you? If you're trying to figure out who you are, one of the things that can help you figure out who you are is if you would just hone in on where are you? Where are you? Who do you think you are now? Let's start from where you are now. If you're trying to get directions someplace, the first thing somebody is going to ask you is, where are you now? Because where you are now helps me get you to where you need to be. If I'm not clear on your location, it's going to be next to impossible for me to get you to your destination. That is why you need to know who you are. You need to know who you are so that you can understand where you are. Because what I found, I was talking to my best friend last night, and I had another epiphany. It's like I had this revelation again. And I realized that I said, a lot of people in relationships, especially like in marriages, it's so easy for us to quit. It's so easy for us to find the fault and the negativity in our spouses, especially if we've never seen marriage modeled in any other way. If you are someone that has grown up around a lot of dysfunction, you've had a lot of dysfunctional relationships, you've always had to struggle and go through a lot of pain in life. It might not have been a financial struggle. Maybe you and your parents had money, but your parents fought and argued all the time. And when you got older and you got married, maybe your struggle wasn't in your finances, but you find that in your marriage now you're struggling and you're arguing just like your parents were. I would go as far to tell you is a lot of that is because your identity is wrapped up in who you think you are. Who you think you are is wrapped up in what you saw your parents doing as you were growing up. That's why we need to know where we are. So if you find yourself in a situation in your marriage and you and your spouse are arguing all the time, if you take a step back and assess where am I right now? I realize that I am argumentative. I realize a part of who I am right now is the fact that I am argumentative and I'm difficult to get along with. Why am I argumentative and difficult to get along with? That's all I know. Well, this is all I know and how to deal with things. Okay, so now we know where we are. What do we need to do to work through that? Well, I need to start accepting another truth about myself. I know that I can be argumentative. Let me also speak that I can be a peacemaker. Let me also speak these things, these other truths about me, because a fact doesn't necessarily represent the truth. That's the problem with identity. Even in the definition, it says the fact of who a person or thing is. But a fact does not always represent the truth. And I know I've had conversations with people about this, and I know different people feel different ways about it. But when we start thinking about who we are and honing in on where we are so that we can figure out who we are, we have to understand that the facts about what we've done, where we've done it, who we've done it with, and so far and so forth and so on, don't always represent the truth. I want you to be clear about where you are so you can know where you're going. If you are jealous and vindictive on the low, you need to know where you are. You don't have to get on Facebook Live and tell everybody that. You don't have to write a letter and run off copies and send it to everybody in your neighborhood. But you do need to go in prayer and quiet and talk to God about these things. God, I found out this is a part of who I am. And I don't believe that's a fact, but I don't believe that's the truth of who I am. I don't want to be like that. Will you help me? And he will. Draw near to God. He'll draw near to you. Seek him and he will seek you. But you have to be willing to know where you are. Many of us are not willing to know where we are. We would much rather run away from ourselves. We would much rather find ourselves caught up in some mess because we don't want to deal with the mess that's within. Many of us go through mess on the outside because we don't want to deal with the mess that's within. I had a friend one time tell me, I actually had this conversation with more than one person, but this particular, well, I've had a similar conversation with more than one person, but this particular thing really hit me. And he said, he was in a situation where he was getting ready to get married and he had broken off from the normal crowd that he was around because the friends that he had and even in his family members were not being very supportive of him getting married. And he realized, he said, he was very upset with them at first. There was a point in time where, he was getting angry with them. But then he said he had to take a step back and realize where he was. That he was taking a step that his mother couldn't understand, his aunts and uncles couldn't understand because none of them had taken that step themselves. So they weren't going to support him. And it wasn't that they didn't want to support him. They didn't really know how to. They were afraid. He was embarking on something that they had not done yet. He was getting married. They had never taken that step. They didn't do that. So in order for him to find out who he was, he had to come to terms with where he was. He had to come to terms with what he had experienced in his life, where all of this was taking place. And he also realized where he was, so he knew what he needed to do in order to move forward and get to where he needed to be. And that's what I want you to think about right now. Get clear on where you are. My friend was very hurt and disappointed that people were so negative when he was talking about wanting to do something that was so positive. He was ready to get married. He wanted to break out of that normal routine. He didn't want to just have a baby with this young lady. He wanted to marry her and build a family. But he was surrounded by a bunch of people who that was not their norm. That was not what they did. And he realized that his identity, it was so similar. He had it so aligned with his environment and where he was. It wasn't until he was willing to deviate from the norm and break out to make something new happen did he really realize where he was. And he was like, wow, I have to learn. I have to learn more about being a husband. I have to learn more about being a father because I realized I don't know this. This was not taught to me. This wasn't even encouraged. But here I am, learning more of who I am in real time. I like to call it vulnerability in real time. Hashtag vulnerability in real time. So when you find out who you are, and that's the only way you're going to make something really happen in life. You can make a mess happen in life. You really can make a mess happen in life, but we don't want you to do that. We don't want you making a mess in your life. We don't want people giving you incredulous stares. Like that, our word of the day. We don't want people giving you incredulous stares, being skeptical for no reason. Yeah, they're going to look at you funny. They're going to be skeptical. Yes, you're going to feel it coming from them. But they're going to be skeptical this time because they see you're in a different place. You're occupying a different space. You're doing something new. You're moving towards where you need to be. And the only way to do that is to find out who you are. That's why it's so important to know where you are. What's the norm in your environment? What is socially accepted in your groups and your crowds? Is this good for you? Is this hindering you from figuring out who you are? Or is it more exposing you to yourself? Which one? If it's holding you back, you need to find another space to occupy. Because Christ wants to be where you are. And he wants to activate himself in your life, but you have to allow him. And a part of allowing him is just letting him know where you are. I want you to know where you are because I want you to have a much better understanding about where you're going. You're worthy. You deserve it. You're worth it. I need what you have to give. I don't take it lightly that you get on and listen to me weekdays from 10 to 2. I am honored to have you here because I know that I am interacting with greatness each and every day that we connect, even when you check me out on YouTube and Facebook and all of that good stuff. Because where we are is important. And I need to be where you are. And you need to be where I am. We need each other to survive. So you think about it. This has been Heart Talk with your heart coach, Adelai Brown, on your community station with international inspiration, kinetichifi.com. Make sure you pre-order your copy of the new book, Help Save Me from My Broken Heart, at theheartconnections.com. Theheartconnections.com. We'll be back at 1 with our life hack segment. And of course, our diamond in the rough. And our last segment of Heart Talk, it'll be on a little early today, so stick around. Heart Talk coming on at about 1:15. But in the meantime, want to be where you are. Jackson 5. Let Michael tell us about it. Kai high five. All right, guys. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach. Make sure you like the video, comment, subscribe, and share. Where are you? I want to be where you are.